guys, welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we'll take a look at some new entitled people content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
The first story is titled, Greedy Homeowner Association President Defrauded the Homeowner Association for $3 million and Pays the Ultimate Price. I knew that there were slimy people in the world that steal from good people, but I didn't realize that I was working right next to one. Well, I guess I had an idea. My name is Emily, and I became a member of the Homeowner Association board in my neighborhood because I wanted to make a change with some policies and ended up finding so much more. There were some weird, suspicious and ridiculous things occurring that made me feel uneasy. I have a best friend that lives in the same cul-de-sac as me and she is a beautiful and kind woman. Her children and my children are best friends. My husband and hers are in a bowling league together on Saturday nights. We are two close families and we actually moved into the neighborhood so that we could raise our kids together. My best friend's husband is originally from Africa and is a proud man who enjoys displaying the American flag. He used to hang the huge flag on the front porch, but apparently, having flags on your porch is against the Homeowner Association bylaws? They actually received fines and attempted to fight the issue in a board meeting but were quickly rejected. There were a few other incidents with them and other neighbors that just didn't seem right. After several months of seeing my friend being harassed about silly little things like decorations in the windows, a trash can being left out a few hours, their in-laws' van in the driveway overnight, etc. I decided that I would try and make a change. I started going to board meetings just to observe. After the one I went to with Camille, best friend, and seeing what went on there, I was honestly being nosy. Something seemed a little off with two of the ladies in the middle. They looked similar, maybe sisters? They were being condescending to many people but didn't necessarily seem like they were overly dismissive with everyone. A few conflicts they seemed to resolve well, but one thing I noticed was that they were never quick to waive off any fines. While they seemed to be okay with accepting things the residents suggested, they clearly wanted their money. I petitioned for a seat on the board when one of the members decided to leave. I wasn't sure why, but they had a position open. Camille didn't seem like she really wanted me to do it, but I honestly felt like I could make a difference for the neighborhood. Anyway, no one wanted to join the Homeowner Association board, so the seat was quickly given to me. Apparently, the Homeowner Association arranges with each other once a month before their public meetings and can keep in contact with each other through a group text or email. I was somewhat eager to have our first private meeting so that I could see how things worked. As a new member of the Homeowner Association board, I was eager to go to these meetings of power. Really just because I wanted to see how things were working. I sat at the end not near the two women, but next to a gentleman who didn't have anything to say. There was a stack of papers and mail next to me in a brown folder that I couldn't resist flipping through discreetly. I couldn't help but notice that there was a Discover card invoice in a common name, something Smith, with weird charges that I can't imagine would belong to a homeowner association. A few were for some nice clothing companies and other things that just didn't seem right. I stopped looking at the folder in the nick of time. I was so engrossed in thought that I hardly noticed that the meeting was over. The two similar-looking women walked behind me and took the folder that I had been nosing through. I decided to take the opportunity to introduce myself and they didn't seem interested but did oblige. The older-looking woman introduced herself as Tammy and the second was Jana. They did confirm that they were indeed sisters who lived next door to each other. I went home that night and discussed my suspicions with the sisters. Camille and I decided that we needed to continue digging into this situation and trying to find evidence that they are doing some shady shit. A few months pass and I continue to look into information. I found out that Tammy actually runs some kind of boutique business with fabrics, knitting and making custom clothing. Her website is pretty old and outdated, but this is supposedly her form of income. I found this out from a neighbor that used to do a book club with the two of them. She also said that Jana helped Tammy with her business. Something about how she probably managed the bookkeeping. Only Jana was still married, so it made me wonder how Tammy affords to live in this neighborhood. To my surprise, one of the private board meetings actually took place. The first one since I've been a member. Everyone showed up, the quiet guy, the sisters, me and another lady who talked occasionally and gave her opinion when requested. It seemed like the sisters just ran the whole show and the rest of us were just there for fun. Don't worry guys, your girl Emily was prepared and had a plan. I brought a bunch of really nice wine. My informant told me that they can't resist and that apparently Jana has a drinking problem anyway. So, to butter them up, I decided to get them a little tipsy. They didn't necessarily spill any beans, but when the meeting was over the quiet two left and I stayed with the sisters, chatting and pouring wine. The two of them were pretty happy by the end of it and dismissed themselves to the bathroom for a moment. I took this opportunity to grab their folder of papers that they kept close to them. I started snapping pictures of things that I felt looked important or unusual. I got about 20 pages done before I heard the door open and them giggling together. After this, we went our separate ways, and it seems like the two may even like me at this point. Not that I like them, but it works in my favor anyway. I went home and investigated what I managed to photograph, and it was bad for the sisters at least. From the little bit that I gathered, I had plenty of evidence to suggest that they were embezzling money for a while. There were several credit cards and debit cards taken out in one of their names, tied to the same bank account number that was on the Homeowner Association HOA account. Plus, there were several invoices for items and other charges having to do with Tammy's boutique business. I had a feeling this was only small potatoes compared to the rest of the folder. After looking at the dates, it appears that the two of them could have taken close to $240,000 just in the last 3 months. Camille and I couldn't believe it. We almost were unsure of what to do, so we decided to call her brother, who is a police officer. He advised that we call a lawyer, and they would lead us in the right direction. We did exactly that, and the lawyer started the process of looking into things. Somehow residents caught wind of something suspicious. Maybe my informant was gossiping, but it didn't seem to hurt the situation. As a matter of fact, it helped. We received many donations to help us pay for the lawyer. After the lawyer had enough to go on, that is when he started contacting the correct authorities. Before we knew it, the two of them had warrants out for their arrest for embezzling money. Everything after that seemed so crazy. We started learning after the police began investigating that they had been stealing from the Homeowner Association for almost 7 years. Tammy would write checks to Jana to purchase inventory for her business, where Jana would then cash the check and they would spend the money. Not to mention the numerous debit or credit cards that they used as well. I was told that they would purchase dresses and items from Tammy's store under this false name and credit card. The trial took a few months, but both of the sisters would see prison time at the end of it, somewhere between 5 and 7 years. I'm unsure if Jana's husband was in any trouble or if he knew about it at all. I don't see how he wouldn't have known. The final number ended up being around $3 million in money stolen. After the sisters were gone from the board, I took over as the Homeowner Association president and brought Camille on as well. Together we have managed to make the Homeowner Association a better place where you can feel comfortable and at home in a nice neighborhood with kind neighbors around you. Plus we're not stealing from them. The next story is titled, Local Resident Complains to Council About Something They Don't Even Own and Runs Business Out of Town. This is something that's actually happening at this current moment recently. A little backstory for you before I get to the actual story. I have 2 friends who have recently closed down their business to relocate elsewhere due to these happenings. My friends who had this business for over a year now were not living in my town locally, but they gained the trust and friendship of most people who are local. They welcomed anyone and everyone who stepped in and were always willing to stop by for a chat if they saw you on the street. Now to get to the real story. So basically, I had found out from my friend, who is one half of the business, that they'd been receiving constant complaints about many things. One being a parking space outside of this shop which my friend would normally use for her car, and a few of the locals were whining about this and going off about them hogging said parking space which nobody had used before anyway. Second complaint I had heard about was the fact that there had been a bench outside on the sidewalk along with a flower trough full of lovely flowers, which was in fact bringing more color to the area. And somehow, from what I heard, one specific local of whose name I'm still unsure of had then complained of this to the local council, when the local council in fact do not own this sidewalk, but it belongs to the landlady who owns the property that my friend was renting from for her business. What makes me laugh is that nobody actually uses this sidewalk anyway. Everyone tends to walk on the other side from that. This walkway is blocked by what looks like 2 barriers and 1 or 2 cars owned by people who think that it is all right to park at an angle at the end of the sidewalk. I have also seen cars that are actually halfway parked on the sidewalk in the road at the same time. And they're complaining about a bench and a flower trough? This is not the first time it's happened either. My landlady used to own part of the building and she'd had complaints filed against her for also having flower troughs on the same piece of sidewalk, which I will repeat, does not belong to the council. Doesn't this seem like double standards to you? The next story is titled, "Someone complained to our homeowner association about our property." We bought our house 3 years ago. It was 10 years old when we bought it. The previous owner built it. We've never had any complaints or issues with anyone here, but we try to stay away from the homeowner association because it's a bunch of older people that just want to fight. There have been some nasty fights at some of the meetings and so we stopped going. We pay our dues and obey the rules. A neighbor recently reached out to me and let me know someone had sent letter to the board complaining about my property and 2 others. So, for some really strange reason when the house was built the well was put on the edge of our property. It's about 5 feet from the road in our yard. Well, apparently, the homeowner association did a zoning thing and decided that the well was actually on public land and right outside our line. Not sure how this could be since when the house was built this wasn't an issue. It wasn't an issue till 2010, which was years before we bought the house. We did get a letter a year ago from a lawyer saying that if anything was to happen to the well that we would have to pay for damages like if a plow hit it or something. Since then, nothing has been mentioned. No one sent us letters or emails or anything. Until now. This email, that was sent to the board, mentions our property and 2 others that we should have to move our well off of homeowner association land and onto ours. The well itself is underground and there is just a small pipe sticking out of the ground. It literally causes no issues, it's never been hit, and it's not an eyesore, and has been there since the house was built 13 years ago. This guy that sent the email is a summer resident and I have no idea why he has suddenly decided something needs to be done. He doesn't state why he wants this to happen or have a good reason. I'm so baffled and pissed off. That kind of project could cost us a ton of money, that we don't have, for no reason. So, I guess my question is, has anyone ever had anything like this before? Should we do anything? Should I respond to this jerk complaining, and why would someone complain about this? Hope this is the right place for this. We are young and this is our first house. If we had known how bad the homeowner association was in this neighborhood, we probably would never have bought this house. Thanks for reading this. I know I'm ranting but I'm so angry. The last story is titled, "HOA threatens to tow for parking in front of my own house." Anyone else have issues with their homeowners association? Not sure if we even have a fight in this. We have 8 people living in our home, only can fit 1 car in the garage and 2 in the driveway. The other 2 cars go outside our house in the street right out front. We don't live in condos or apartments and none of the neighbors have issues with us parking in front of our own home. I am a caregiver for my father, so my daughter and husband and I both live here with my father to care for him. I really have no other spot to park. I've parked my car there for 5 years and never had an issue. Now they won't let us park there and are charging us $25 per car for being out there because street parking is for guests. I also have friends in the neighborhood who are in the same situation but are not getting charged for their vehicles on the street. Our neighborhood looks like trash, our sprinkler system is broken, there is weeds in the front by the signs and on the common ground. They ripped out the park, it's just a bunch of broken glass and trash. Really, what are they doing with all the money because they aren't fixing up the neighborhood? Just wish we could move but can't afford that, and I really don't want to park outside of the neighborhood and walk with my infant to my car in the rain and cold. Just my rant. Thanks for listening.